What is going on, guys? Jack here, and welcome to episode 75 of the Rise to Glory here with Gibraltar Apex. And today I have for you guys our mid-season review for this, our 10th season here in Gibraltar. And I've got to be honest, it doesn't really feel like I've done 10 seasons yet, which might sound a little bit odd. I guess it's because with a lot of my saves, after 10 years, I've kind of achieved most of what I want to do, or I'm certainly way on the way to achieving it. I feel like with this save, kind of the scale of the challenge means, despite the fact I'm 75 episodes in, which by most people's kind of, I guess, perceptions would be a long series, despite that, and of course the fact, we're in our 10th season, it doesn't feel like this save is that close to ending. In fact, I know it's nowhere near ending in reality, but that's a really cool feeling. This is honestly the first series I've ever had on YouTube, which I genuinely think could surpass maybe 150, maybe even 200 episodes, depending on how things go. I mean, looking at our situation here, we're going to be taking on Gibraltar Lions today. Of course, they've emerged as one of our rivals in the new FM16 feature of Dynamic Rivalries. They've emerged as a competitive rival, and I'm hoping that today we can do one over on them. Last episode, of course, was the Champions League game against Arsenal, which was actually a 2-2 draw at the Emirates, which I think by most people's kind of, I guess, perceptions is not a bad result by any means. I mean, I think after that game, I felt a little bit bummed out at the end of last episode just because we'd finished with 5 points in the Champions League group stage, which was a record, but at the same time, we'd so narrowly missed out on a Europa League knockout spot. Of course, losing out on that because of our head-to-head record against Benfica, but at the same time, I think that's fuel to keep me going here and to keep me, pursuing this save and kind of the ultimate goals of this save, which really is to establish the Gibraltarian League as kind of the big league in Europe, of course, have Gibraltar Apex as one of the biggest teams in the world, but also, of course, eventually, hopefully, get Gibraltar to attend a World Cup. That's kind of got to be the dream, I feel. Anyway, looking at our save and how things have gone on, we've played 8 matches since that last episode against Arsenal. We'll go through these pretty quickly just because, as you can see, we won them all in pretty darn convincing manner. It is worth noting, actually, that in these kind of last 8 games, we're yet to concede. Of course, an aim with this save has been to try and get a season where we don't concede a goal. This year, however, we conceded 3 goals very, very early on. I think it was 3 goals in the first 7 games, which, when you compare it to last year where we conceded 2 goals and the year before that when we conceded 3, was a little bit disappointing because I am ultimately trying, if we can, to go for a perfect season here in Gibraltar where we don't concede a goal. So I was a little bit annoyed that we conceded 3 so soon. But despite that, in the recent games, the team have performed very well. We opened things up with a 7-0 win against Europa Point. Sean Jackson grabbing a hat-trick. He's done great, the American player who has suffered his fair share of injuries, but this year he's played a lot of first-team football. Not perhaps scored as many goals as you might expect, really, but he's done a good job for us. A player who, he's been at the club a few years now. He kind of has a role in the team and, well, he's been kind of following up with it here. The other player to get a hat-trick in this game was Danelli Russo, the Italian. Very good player, this guy. We've actually extended his loan from Inter Milan to the end of 2026, which is the end of next year. So he's got 18 months left on his loan kind of period at the club. The 18-year-old, a great player for us to have. Very, very happy. And, well, as you can see here, 22 goals in 15 games. Isn't too shabby a return for him. Anyway, the next game we had was against Red Imps, Lincoln Red Imps, of course. We beat them 5-0. That was a good result. That was in the Senior League Cup, the only kind of divisional game we've had in this run of results. The next few games, all in the league, 6 of them to be precise. The first 2, 4-0 and 4-0. Carlos Silva getting a hat-trick in this game. The Portuguese player, of course, on loan from Elche, getting his kind of scoring boots on here, playing ahead of McVitie, and he got some goals. I mean, to be fair, McVitie, I believe, came on in this game and got a goal, so he got a goal too. In the next game, Carlos Silva getting another goal, Russo, the loanee, getting a goal, and Paul Smith grabbing himself a brace. The 20-year-old Australian, just been a great player for us. He's got 3 years left on his contract, of course. We have also got the optional contract extension clause, if we just look at his contract, of 3 years. And after his kind of last season at the club, if he plays 5 games, he then has a year extension on his contract. We really have got this guy tied down for the foreseeable future, and I'm absolutely delighted about that because the 20-year-old here, I mean, he's a great player. If we look at his kind of information, you can see he wants to win the Premier Division. He's excited about our chance in the Premier Division. Feels a little bit pressured by the interest in him, but he's enjoying playing with us, and we love having him here. He's one of my favourite personalities. Also got Gibraltar Apex as a favourite club, and I'm hoping we can keep hold of him because he is just such a good player. Anyway, the next few results we got was a 3-0 win against Angels, the smallest kind of margin of victory in this run of results. 3 goals all in the first half, good performance really. We then beat Glasgow United 9-0. Paul Smith, who I just mentioned before, the Australian, getting a hat-trick. You can see he's got 20 goals in 15 games and 14 assists. I mean, he's not doing too badly in the league really. He's already on course to have his best season ever at the club. He's got more assists than in any previous season, and he's also tied his goal scoring tally from when, of course, he first joined the club. So he's looking like he's going to be a long-term star, really. The next game against St Joseph's, who were bottom of the league, we won 6-0, and I was a little bit sad, actually, when we beat them here. And the reason I was sad was because they sacked their manager. And you're probably wondering, well, why would you be sad about a manager getting sacked? I'll tell you why. Because Jogan Santos, the 40-year-old here, he was one of our own. He was a Gibraltar Apex legend. I say legend very loosely. He played 7 games. But to see him sacked, you know, I don't like to see other managers sacked, but particularly when it's a former player of mine, it's a particularly sad day. I will just quickly give an honourable mention to Lee Fenley of Lincoln Red Imps, of course, one of our centre-backs many years ago. He's doing pretty well, it's fair to say, here at Lincoln Red Imps. He, of course, retired at the end of the 2017-18 year, and in his last 7 years, well, he's done quite well, really. He's been in charge of, as you can see, Lincoln Red Imps for the last 7 years, and he's guided them, of course, to a promotion back into the Primera Division, and they are really on the verge of a Europa League spot. So fair play to you, Lee. Pretty proud of your achievements. I mean, I taught him everything he knows. But yeah, good to see, 2 of our former players emerging, and hopefully we'll see some more of that with some of our long-term players here staying on to be coaches or managing Gibraltarian club rivals. I think that'd be a really cool thing to see emerge in this save. Anyway, the last result in this game, in this run of games, 12-0, the biggest win in the club's history. Hopefully we will surpass this at some point, but as you can see, Paul Smith grabbing 4. He also got 3 assists. Mick Vitti got a hat-trick too. Bouchard, John Flanagan getting on the scoring sheet, and Russo getting the goals. Bouchard, worth a mention to him. The Canadian still developing. He looks absolutely incredible, the 20-year-old again. Another player who's kind of committed to the club, I feel, at this point. We are, of course, a favourite personnel of his. Gibraltar Apex is a favourite club. He did have a little bit of pressure from some clubs being interested in him, but it does seem like a lot of the interest for now has at least died down. And he's having a very good season, really. A 9.01 rating for him currently in the league. I mean, considering we're spanking teams like we are, perhaps that isn't kind of the same 9 average rating as you might expect, say, if a Premier League player was getting that higher a rating. But at the same time, that's not a bad achievement, really, to have an average of a 9+ rating so far this year. Anyway, today we, of course, are going to be taking on Gibraltar Lions. You guys are probably sat there thinking, Jack, there's been a transfer window. Did you do any business? The answer... Not immediate business. Not immediate business. I did actually do one loan out, and this was one that I did with a heavy heart, really. Ben Connolly, he wanted first team football. He's been complaining about it. I said to him, son, go play for Gibraltar Lions on loan. Show me what you're made of, and come back and, well, you're not going to get a space in the team, but I want you to play first team football. I want you to be happy at the club. So he's gone and done that. So one of our own, one of the Gibraltar Apex faithful, he was happy to go on loan to Gibraltar Lions. Unfortunately, they were the only club interested in loaning him. I didn't really want to send him to them, but I didn't really have a choice in the end. I'm hoping he won't score against us today. I can't remember if I put a clause in his loan contract, to be honest, preventing him from playing against us. But yeah, be aware of that. Ben Connolly, if you see his name on the Lions kind of squad sheet, he's there on loan. It's not permanent, I promise. In terms of players coming in on the ins, no immediate transfers. However, we have got some that I've arranged more recently, which you're going to be going through. Izzy Brown, a contract that's yet to be confirmed. The 20-year-old, or 28-year-old even, an England under-20 international. A very good player, a pacey striker, something that I think we could do with. We have got another striker who we've already officially signed, who will be joining us at the end of the year. Slightly different player to Izzy Brown here. A player who I'm not sure if I want to sign in permanently, because he is going to have pretty hefty wages, but be aware he might be coming in. Ethan Brunt, a player who we might also be bringing in. I just approached him on a Bosman yesterday, actually, from Tottenham. I really should scout this guy, but he looks quite good on paper. 19 years old. We can approach him on a free, get him in on a free. He was just one of those players who kind of showed up when I was doing my big searches. As you can see here, I'm still doing them now. Contract expiring in 6 months, £20,000 most wage a week. I've got some of these players scouted. Some of them I haven't. I've kind of just been eyeing them up. I mean, it's worth noting, actually, the league rep seems to have increased a little bit this year. I guess that was perhaps due to some good results kind of in the Champions League. You can see Danilo here, or Danilo, who plays for Braga. We can actually make a contract offer to him, which we couldn't do a few months ago. So we are making progress there. There's a few other players here who I've tried to sign, but we can't. A few of these guys would be fantastic additions if we could get them in. But they wanted stupid money, and I'm not willing to give them stupid money, unfortunately. But be aware, we are starting to attract perhaps a few new players. And hopefully in the summer, maybe we can invest some of this transfer budget. It's worth noting, actually, I actually asked the board for a higher transfer and wage budget. They granted both requests because they love me. The club balance sits at just shy of 23 million. You can see that they've given me a wage budget of £245,000 a week. We're actually only spending £95,000 a week. You will notice, however, our committed spending £150,000 a week, which means, if you can do any kind of maths and logistics, we have got a few bigger names coming in. And I'll go through these guys who we signed a while ago anyway, but Jason Hall will be joining us eventually, end of next year. The Sounders youngster, a player we signed a few years ago, but worth keeping an eye out on him. Gary Horst also joining us, a young American, maybe has some talent about him. My coach rates him, he's only 16. He'll be joining us at the end of next season as well. Unfortunately, Americans, they can't transfer until they're 18 years old, so we do have to wait for them. But the last player, a player who I have signed for £2 million, and this has been confirmed, Aaron Tuzon. Now, he's not an incredible player, really. And he has taken a wage cut to come to us, but we're signing this guy from Espanyol, and he just looks like a very good striker, a good intelligent striker as well. I absolutely love his mentals, great anticipation, great decisions, great determination, great teamwork, and that off the ball is going to be very, very nice. I feel like that's something we've lacked. He's not necessarily the fastest player in the world, but he's by no means snow. He's definitely not snow. He's also not slow. And his technicals, whilst they're not super standout, he kind of has technicals where you want them as a striker in terms of dribbling, finishing, first touch, bit of heading, bit of technique. Looks like he has the makings of a pretty good player, and to come in for £2 million, pretty happy with that, if I'm honest. My scout rates him, if we look here, perhaps a little bit inconsistent, but he's requested to leave. We've signed him, could improve a slight amount in the future. He is only 24 and he enjoys big matches. He's a player who, he might improve a little bit, not really expecting a massive improvement. But if we just compare him here to Mark Stewart, who I've now lost. I did have him on this list just a few minutes ago, because I was looking at it myself. But if we just go to favourite personnel, where I know Mark Stewart is, of course we sold Mark Stewart at the start of this year for £3 million. If we just do a comparison of these guys, you'll see that really Tuzon is probably the better player. There's not a massive amount in it, but the mentals that Tuzon has over Stewart are pretty impressive. And I think he's going to be a pretty good replacement for Stewart. And he comes in for less than what we sold Stewart for, and on about the same wages as the wages that Stewart now has at Huddersfield. So anyway, those are the transfers at the moment. Looking at the league table, of course, we've not lost yet. We are quite a way clear, although it is, I guess, worth noting, Gibraltar Lions themselves on a pretty good run of form. They've only lost 2 games and drawn 1, of course. They lost against us not that long ago, 5-1. So we are expected to beat them here. Hopefully we can get a good result. You can see they're actually 8 points behind us. However, it's worth noting, after 15 games, our goal difference is plus 89. So it's going to be pretty tricky, you'd think, for Gibraltar Lions to catch us up here. They have got Anenko Garcia, who we're going to have to keep an eye out on. He's actually not a bad striker, really. Significantly better than any other players that other Gibraltarian teams have. And yeah, he might be able to score if he gets given an opportunity. So we are going to need to defend semi-well here. Another little bit of business that I've just remembered. I decided to terminate Atalo's loan. The reason I did this was Bayern Munich didn't want to extend his loan into next year. And with 6 months left of the year, with us being in the Primera Division, I want to make sure that our other goalkeepers, our permanent players, get playing time to potentially improve. So, for example, Ljung here, the Swedish national, he needs to play first team football. He wasn't going to get it if Atalo was here, but given the fact that we're not massively being challenged domestically, I feel like having Young in the side kind of makes sense. And I'm hoping he can do a good job for us when he's fully fit, because he has been out with injury as of late. So anyway, I was about to go to submit team. Here we go. This is the squad we have. Ribeiro is currently on the bench. That is because, as I mentioned, we are without Young due to injury. I am going to drop Russo, I think, for this game in favour of Jer. I feel like Jer, a player who, he's not had the best year really, but at the same time, he's only ever going to get better and get back into form if we give him time to do so. Worth noting, we have had a few injuries. You'll notice that the condition and sharpness on a few players is surprisingly low. Perhaps a few players here that not so important to our team. Worth noting that Benyu, who is of course our captain, the Zimbabwean, 27 years old now, he's requested to leave the club. He's actually strained his ankle ligaments, which meant he couldn't get a move in the kind of winter window. But yeah, he is moving on probably at the end of this year. I think that's when his contract runs out. It does indeed. He's had a few injuries. He's not quite the player he once was for us. He will be going. I do need to kind of have a quick review of my team contracts and sort out the expiry dates and stuff, because there's probably a few players whose contracts are coming to an end at the end of next year, if not this year. If we look at our starting 11, in fact, there's a fair few running out this year. Of course, a few of these are the loan signings, but players like Melvin Thomas I do need to tie down, so I will be doing that straight after this. I don't know how that's just escaped my mind. It's worth noting, however, most of the key players, the players who I really, really value in the team, have got deals that end next year or kind of in a few years' time. So anyway, let's get into the game. In terms of the squad, I was in the middle of doing it before I got distracted. I think this is the team we're going to go with. We're going to go with Flanagan, Thomas, Patterson and Evans, who would normally be the back four. Of course, Evans, our right back. It's going to be him playing in defensive mid, though, with Manuel Cruz out, and Jeff Brown going to get the nod alongside, of course, Melvin Thomas. Part of me thinks it might be worth terminating these guys in on loan to allow younger players to get some play time. There's a few players who I'd like to at least give a chance to develop. Players like Walter De Sol here, the Italian. He's a good player. He's a really good centre-back. Of course, we signed him after his agent offered him to us. We've not really given him a chance yet. And although he's only 17, you actually look at his kind of core attributes, he'd be a very good kind of centre-back defend. His mentals, you know, they're not the craziest, but in terms of his technicals and his physicals, he's made to play the role and he needs game time. So I might look to perhaps end the loans of a few players here following this game. I feel like when I do these live comms, you kind of realise stuff when you explain your decision-making and what you're doing that you don't notice when you're just playing through FM. I feel like it's almost saying it aloud and saying what you're thinking aloud makes you think about it more and kind of reconsider it. The rest of the team, though, we're not going to change too much. I'm pretty happy with the overall starting 11. Of course, Ben Connolly out on loan. We'll keep an eye out to see if he is in the Lions squad. We are favourites for this game, which is good. Connolly is not on the bench. He's not in the starting 11 either. I guess he must have had a clause in his contract, which meant he couldn't play against us. I'm going to tell the players here to pick up, just relax and the result will come. I'm also going to tell them I've got faith in them. Passionate. Look at that. They're loving it. We want a good result here. We want to thrash our kind of domestic rivals here. And I can actually say rivals now and it be correct. Of course, they've got their tycoon owner. They're going to be throwing money left, right and centre. I feel like the longer this save goes on, assuming their kind of chairman doesn't leave anytime in the near future, there could be a long-term rivalry here, particularly if the Gibraltarian League really picks up. It'll be interesting to see kind of how ourselves and Gibraltar Lions kind of duke it out at the top of the table. Anyway, we're on the attack here. McVitie to Jer, to Evans. Nice ball over to Flanagan. Can we whip it in? A goal in 2 minutes would be nice, although, I mean, it's not coming our way just yet. Smith, though, now with the ball. Evans, Bouchard to Flanagan on the overlap. Can he whip in a ball? He can. Jackson there. Blocked. Smith with the rebound. That was a clear-cut chance, apparently. I assume that was the initial blocked effort. But 3 minutes in, not a bad start, really. We're on the front foot. We're on the attack. Gibraltar Lions perhaps struggling just a little bit. And, well, that's what we wanted to see from the start of the game. And now we have a set-piece. Ball whipped in. Thomas clears it away. And now it's with Jer. McVitie. I mean, that was an awful shot. Fortunately for us, though, the centre-back, Jeff Brown, the American, his third goal of the year. I mean, we didn't bring him in to score goals when we loaned him from Norwich, but he's a bit of a fox in the box. Look at it there. Flanagan with a back heel. I love that. McVitie, I mean, it's a deflected shot. I couldn't tell that in 2D, so I apologise for criticising in my head McVitie's shot because I thought it was awful, but it was blocked. But so far so good. Looking at the stats, we're dominating the game as you'd expect. Of course, as I mentioned, we want to ruin Gibraltar Lions' hopes and dreams. You know, they're not that far off us really in the league, despite the fact we are walking the league in terms of smashing every team. It's worth noting, you know, Gibraltar Lions themselves, they've only, of their first 15 games, they've won 12 of them. They've lost 2, drawn 1. Like, if we were to slip up in 1 or 2 games, suddenly they're on our tail, as odd as that seems, considering how far ahead we are. So beating them here would be nice, just to crush their spirits and their dreams and their hopes and all their aspirations, basically, and just bully them. McVitie with a chance. Jer, the Brazilian who I'm giving a chance today. I want to play him. I want to play him when I can. He's not making a good case for himself, missing chances like that, although he might get another chance here. Flanagan, edge of the area with Evans. Bouchard, can he switch it to Patterson? He can. Ball into the box. Jer's there. He scores this time. 15th goal of the season for him. I mean, I criticise him. He's got 15 goals so far. It feels a little bit harsh to be so critical of him. Nice build-up play though. Bouchard to Patterson, the right full-back on the overlap. Ball to the back post. And yeah, nice composed finish on the left foot, on the volley. Not an easy one to keep down, really. But he finds the back of the net. He makes it 2-0. And it isn't going to be the 12-0 I don't think that we had kind of in our previous match. However, at 2-0 at half-time, it's been a pretty convincing performance so far. Although, Stables with a set piece, it hits the woodwork. Jeff Thomas clears it out. And well, Gibraltar Lions there hitting the woodwork. Maybe that's a warning. Maybe that's a warning that a goal before half-time could be... Well, I was about to say a goal before half-time could get rid of the warning. It hasn't got rid of the warning. Sean Jackson misses the opportunity. 2-0 at half-time. I think I'm going to tell the players I'm not happy. See how they react here. They're fired up. That is the response I want. There are not many teams where you can play the team in second and you're top of the league and you tell them that you're not happy and they perform better. But this is one of the teams. Can we score from kickoff? Jackson. Well, he almost had a chance there. The ball whipped into the box. Headed goalwards. And it was Laidler there. I think the Spanish goalkeeper with the save for Gibraltar Lions. 52 minutes gone. Do I want to make a tactical change? I kind of do. It's not that we've played badly, but we've not looked crazily good. I'm going to bring in Jeremy Braun, I think, just for Danny Evans. Danny Evans booked to play in that more defensive midfielder role. A good position that he's capable of playing, but he's not 100% comfortable in it. And so, he might be a little bit more prone, I guess, to committing a foul or two. So we'll take him out there. And Garcia with an effort. And Gibraltar Lions, they've hit the woodwork twice. It could be 2-2 at this point. We've rid our luck, really. Or rode our luck, I should say, really. If I want to be grammatically correct. And speak the Queen's English. Right, can we have a chance here? Bouchard, Smith. The Australian inside to Jackson. Smith there. Smith scores. He really has been the man of this team so far. His 22nd goal of the year. Not bad for a left midfielder, really. Playing a nice little 1-2 with Sean Jackson, who holds up the ball well there. I thought he might hit it on the turn, the striker, and be a little bit greedy. He hasn't been. Very unselfishly lays it off to Smith, who just slots it in. It wasn't a powerful effort. He's just picked his spot. The keeper perhaps should get there because it's not right in the corner. But it finds the back of the net, and we find ourselves now 3-0 up, and we are loving it. Now we just have to maintain this level of performance for the last 17 minutes. If we could get a few more, that'd be nice. Last time we played Gibraltar Lions, we won 4-0, and they've now just had a sending off Artola for them. Losing his head. Not literally losing his head. He didn't drop it on the pitch and then have to try and find it without the use of his eyes. I mean, he got angry. That's what I'm trying to say. Right, let's make a few changes here. It's the last few minutes of the game. It's game over. Last time we played them, it was 5-1. It'd be nice to win by a 4-goal margin again. But with 3 minutes left, we're not going to lose this game now. If we get a goal, it's only going to, I guess, be a little bit... What's the word? Obsolete? Not obsolete, because it would have a purpose, but it's not going to be truly meaningful in the kind of grand scheme of things. As we might have a chance. Jackson bringing the ball forward. And then he does that. Well, that's why we need to replace him in the summer. Either way, nice win there. 3-0 this is going to finish. A very convincing performance. A little bit disappointing not to see Ben Connolly turn up against us. But nevertheless, very happy with that performance. 3-0 it finishes. Top display. 95 goals scored. 4 after 16 games. We are on course to, I believe, smash our goal scoring record here in the... in the... Premier Division. I have just signed Brunt. He's the guy who I said I needed to scout. I've not scouted him because we're getting him on a free and only paying £23,000 and his wage is £2,500 a week. And I think he's going to be worth that just looking at him. He looks like quite a good player to bring in for so cheap. So I'm not even bothered about the scout report. We'll wait for that to come in and see how good he is. But we've got a player that we've not scouted. I mean, don't do that at home. That's not recommended, but we've done it here. In terms of when we'll be back, guys, I think it will be for the end of season live com. It will be the double cup final header. Hopefully I'll see you guys for those 2 games. Should be a cracker for episode 76. And then, of course, it's worth noting those 2 games, they're going to be the last games we ever play at the Victoria Stadium, with them being our own stadium until we move to the Space Park. So that's something to be excited about, I guess. But yeah, that wraps up the penultimate episode of Season 10. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed. As always, if you have, smash the like button. If you've got any comments, leave them down below. And other than that, it is me, Jack, and I'll talk to you guys in a bit. I'm out.